Hello everyone and welcome back to Game Dive. Today I wanted to take a quick look at Gungrave and explore some of its story and lore, and simply have fun revisiting, just as I did when I first played it back in 2012. So let's dive on in.
Gungrave.
We'll get into the gameplay and the finer details in a moment. First though, I want to give a brief synopsis of the events that led you to taking up the role of Grave. Seeing as the game is only about an hour to an hour and 30 minutes long, it doesn't really have that much of a story, but it does have an anime adaptation that explores the story and its characters in much detail. The story begins with two friends, Brandon Heat and Harry McDowell. Harry is fiercely ambitious and determined to make something of himself, while Brandon follows alongside him, both his closest friend and muscle the bear. Eventually, they catch a break and join a powerful criminal organization known as Millennium. Over time, Brandon and Harry begin making names for themselves within the organization. Brandon becomes what is known as a sweeper, essentially a hitman enforcer tasked with eliminating rival gangs, while Harry rises through the ranks and secures a powerful executive position. As time passes, Brandon notices that Harry's ambition is becoming increasingly dangerous. As a form of insurance, he approaches a scientist named Dr. T and asks him to resurrect him through a process known as necrolization if he should ever die. Sure enough, Harry eventually makes his move to overthrow Millennium's leader, Big Daddy. When Brandon refuses to stand with him, Harry shoots and kills his former friend. 15 years later, Brandon is resurrected as an undead warrior known as Beyond the Grave, or Grave for short. He remains dormant until a young girl named Mika arrives carrying his signature guns, Cerberus. Her arrival awakens Grave, who takes up his weapons once again and sets out to confront Harry and finally put an end to his ambitions. And that brings us to the beginning of the game. As you can see from the footage, the gameplay and controls are both very straightforward. This is a traditional run and gun action game. You move forward, shoot anything in your path, dodge from side to side, and keep firing. The L1 button allows you to lock onto enemies, while X is used to dodge and jump. Pressing triangle activates one of Grave's powerful special attacks: Death Blow, Bullet Dance, Hellhound Roar, and Raging Inferno. You can also convert your specials into a heal. And seeing how the game is as short as it is, you get all your abilities essentially within the first 4 stages. The first stage sends Grave after Mickey, a low-ranking member of Harry's syndicate. He's a relatively easy opponent, making the encounter feel more like a warning than a genuine challenge. By taking Mickey out, Grave sends Harry a clear message: he's back and the fight has only just begun. Second stage tasks Grave with heading into an abandoned factory to shut down the production of Seed, a dangerous narcotic Harry has been distributing throughout the city. Stage 3, an informant tips Grave off about a party being held aboard an airship for the members of Harry's syndicate. Despite knowing it's a trap, Grave heads there anyway. After gunning his way through the town, Grave reaches the airship and makes his way aboard. On his arrival, he comes face to face with Bob, one of the syndicate's highest-ranking members. Bob serves as the organization chief of intelligence, making him one of the most important figures in Harry's syndicate. During the first phase of the fight, Bob is joined by 4 other grunts from the organization. However, he barely moves and doesn't put up much of a fight, making him relatively easy to take down. After defeating Bob, Grave makes his way to the top of the airship and to catch up with Harry, but he's too late. Instead, he's confronted once again by Bob, who has transformed into a much larger and more grotesque form. Even in his new form, Bob doesn't put up much of a fight. His attacks mostly consist of charging forward and throwing objects at Grave, who will also attempt to launch himself into the air and come crashing down on top of you. But the attack is easily avoided with a simple jump to the side, making him just as easy to defeat as he was before. Stage 4 begins with Dr. T informing Grave that it's time for another blood transfusion, a procedure his body must periodically undergo to remain functional. During the transfusion, Grave is completely incapacitated. The Syndicate takes advantage of this vulnerability, discovering and attacking the hideout. Dr. T is injured in the assault, and Mika is kidnapped. Upon learning that Mika has been taken, Grave immediately sets out in pursuit of her kidnappers. As Grave makes his way through the subway station hot on the kidnapper's trail, they board a train in an attempt to escape. Grave manages to catch up, continuing his pursuit aboard the moving train. Upon reaching the end of the train, Grave is confronted by Ballad Bird Lee, the Syndicate chief spy and another member of the Big Four. Lee throws Mika from the train before causing it to derail. In the aftermath of the crash, he reveals his monstrous transformed form. The fight consists mainly of charging and jumping attacks. The strategy I use is to keep my distance, be ready to dodge whenever it closes in. As the battle progresses and Lee takes more damage, he eventually loses one of his blades, making him even easier to defeat. Bear immediately transforms, becoming a much larger creature with multiple arms, each wielding a different weapon. During the fight, you can target and destroy his arms individually, disabling his weapons in the process. Once defeated, Bear transforms again, taking on an even larger second form. His primary attack involves throwing massive objects that explode on impact. If Gary gets too close, Bear instead charges up a powerful punch. The strategy I ended up using was to keep running directly toward him, preventing him from throwing anything. As he prepared to punch, I would jump to the side, open fire, turn around, and charge toward him again. Repeating the pattern made the fight fairly easy. Stage 6 immediately throws you into a fight with Bunji Kakushiro, a highly skilled gunman and one of Gray's greatest rivals. Unlike the other major members of the Syndicate, Bunji doesn't appear to have a transformed form. Before Brandon's death, Bunji was his apprentice and close friend. However, he later came to believe that Brandon had betrayed Millennium, turning their former friendship into a bitter rivalry. The fight is actually kind of funny. Bunji has a charging attack that leads into something resembling an over-the-top finishing move from a fighting game, but for the most part, the battle is a straightforward shootout. Eventually, Bunji will attempt to hide behind a pillar and recover some of his health. You'll want to stay on top of him while still maintaining a safe distance. I found that dodging to his side was more effective than dodging directly towards him. If you get too close, he can kick and stun Grave before slipping behind the pillar, giving himself enough time to regain some health. After Bunji delivers his parting words, the series begins to move further away from the grounded direction of the anime. While the anime focuses primarily on the Mafia and its internal conflicts, the game increasingly embraces the supernatural elements of the story. This becomes especially apparent in the sequel, Gungrave Overdose, which takes an even stranger approach by introducing more alien-like creatures. After Bunji delivers his parting words, the series begins to move further away from the grounded direction of the anime. While the anime focuses primarily upon reaching the top of the tower, Grave is confronted by Harry, who introduces him to his next opponent. It turns out Harry never killed Big Daddy. Instead, he had him transform into an entirely different being. The fight mostly consists of avoiding Big Daddy's large and heavily telegraphed attacks. He can slam his fist onto the platform before sweeping it across the arena, which can be avoided jumping over it. He also has a Gatling gun mounted on one of his fingers, though you can escape its line of fire by moving out of the way. His other attacks include breathing a stream of fire, which can be avoided by keeping distance, and repeated punches to the platform. Simply move to the side of his fist and keep firing whenever you have an opening. Upon Big Daddy's defeat, the new final boss makes an appearance, a giant alien head. It's an incredibly strange encounter. Where did it come from? I honestly have no idea. The fight mostly consists of the creature firing projectiles at Grave. It can also target him with a red laser before launching one of its eyeballs in his direction. At close range, it attempts to bite him, and it can split open its head to create a powerful suction effect, pulling Grave towards its mouth. Despite its bizarre appearance, none of these attacks are particularly difficult to avoid. As long as you pay attention to its movements and react accordingly, the fight is fairly straightforward. After defeating the alien head, Grave confronts Harry one final time. Harry, now ready to accept the consequences of everything he's done, allows Grave to repay him in kind, ending their story the same way Harry once ended Grave's life. So that was Gungrave. I intentionally left out quite a bit of the story to avoid spoiling it anime for anyone interested in watching it. I highly recommend checking it out because it still holds up surprisingly well. I mainly wanted to provide enough background to give you a general understanding of the characters and events without revealing everything. Game This was a fun one to make, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more content. Till next time, thanks for watching.